back to Smoking and Toasting at show number 135. Our program is brought to you by B&B Lemon, a wonderful pub with a great pub menu and some really amazing cocktails. It's located right across the street from B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and then you'll find B&B Butchers and Restaurant in the shops at Clear Fork.
Go see Chastity behind the bar there,
well.
Lemon.
Yeah,
she is outstanding.
She can make some cocktails.
Yeah, she's so fun.
Really, really good at it. So, all right, want to say big props to our buddies Christopher Hart and Alan Denny.
Who?
Well, no one cares about those guys. But they were part of an event that clearly a lot of people cared about. The Houston Whiskey Social that they put together was really quite a success. And,
you see what happens to my face when
I
you
know
say
you
Houston
just break
Whiskey
into a
Social.
smile when I say it.
It was so fun.
It was fun, and we had a good time. We had a chance to obviously sample a lot of great things and smoke some cigars, and we had a chance to catch up there with Matt Booth from Room 101, who actually worked with Chris, who no one cares about, to put together a really cool little cigar.
Houston Whiskey Social cigar,
Yes, yes. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, plus with what's going on now at Room 101 with the very interesting and colorful Matt Booth. All right, Smoking and Toasting Live. We are at the Houston Whiskey Social, and it's amazing the people you run into here. Matt Booth from Room 101 is here. Matt, it is a pleasure to meet you in person.
It's my honor. Thanks for having me.
Now, from the service to being a jewelry maker,
That's correct.
to being a cigar blender and sort of a brand master, I guess, of Room 101. How do you make those transitions from one to the other to the other?
That's a lot of things going
Well,
on.
the original philosophy behind Room 101 was to create a brand that was akin to a traditional European luxury lifestyle collection. So, for example, the Dunhill of 1920 by 2020, right? So I call the style techno retro. It's traditional craft product with modern stylization. Stylization and technique implemented whenever and wherever it doesn't pervert the craft basis of the product but enhances it. That's the nature of what we do at Room 101.
So you're making jewelry. You decide cigars are.
Am I doing all right? Doing all right?
Awesome.
So nervous.
So you're making jewelry. Do you decide cigars are next? Did you already know anything about blending cigars at that
So
point?
I enjoyed smoking cigars, and I definitely felt that cigars were the way to consume tobacco in terms of what was in line with my brand's philosophy, right? So a cigarette is really an injection system for nicotine, and a cigar is a way to properly enjoy tobacco, in my opinion. So, I had begun making a smoker's accessory collection in sterling silver, lighter housings, and modifying some cigar cutters, Zycar cutters and whatnot. And the opportunity to work on creating a cigar materialized for me, and I took it.
Man,
And the rest is history.
The style on the cigar bands is so awesome, so attractive to me too. Like, do you do the art yourself? Do you have an artist do that? What do you have?
It's a mixture. A lot of the early Room 101 artwork was hand drawn by a dear friend of mine as a tattoo artist.
There's almost a Mayan kind of influence to some of the older bands and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there was an Asian influence. A lot of artwork and sculptural work that I saw when deployed in Japan inspired some early jewelry designs in my collection, and then they were very iconic. They were very.
No, you're the one talking. It goes like this.
Oh, sorry. I got carried away. Hey, I'm sorry. Or should I hold it? How do you want to do this? How do you feel more comfortable?
It looks more rock star when you're holding it.
You think?
Yeah.
How does
That actually. I can't. I'm going to give you 20 minutes to quit that. All right.
And I'm gonna.
You see?
Say
You see?
I'm not super comfortable telling you how that made me feel.
Another satisfied customer, right here. No. So the idea with those designs is that they would in 2D communicate the source material of my original jewelry designs, and like the Fu, the icon, it's the protective character, an Okinawan shishi dog. That was one of our original house marks, and later came the cherry blossom logo. So all of the artwork that's associated with my products is all done by hand. because there's, in my opinion, there's something that's perfectly imperfect about the touch of the human hand.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Touch of the human hand.
It's really intricate too. Like when you look close at the labels that you have out, they're incredibly intricate. It's more intricate than almost any other cigar label I've seen.
Wow, thanks, man. Those are big words.
Yeah, it's the best I got.
Okay,
I was a little flabbergasted when you started touching my hand.
I get it. I get it. You pulled it together though.
Noted.
He's good.
He's a pro.
He's good. Like
He's a pro.
That. You took some time off recently from doing cigars, and then jumped kind of like head first back in. Came with a new blend. Did you know you were coming back in when you took the time off, or did you go out, clear your head, and decide I really want to be doing what I was doing?
You know, it was really time to recalibrate and reset for me and get back to some of the core components of the industry and the craft that initially caused me to fall in love with it, you know. And so that was the purpose of that break.
And did it work the way you wanted it to?
It did.
Good.
It did.
Good. So I want to ask you about two blends. First, the Farce, which seems to. I want to call it your crowning achievement. Would you? Would you?
Not the farce.
Farce. Okay. So I want to call it your crowning achievement. In fact, that's why I put "the" in front of it, because it just seems like a sort of a royal thing. Where did this blend come from? What can you tell me about it?
So Farce was a very interesting project because it was something that was more complex in construction and composition than anything that I had ever made previously. And many times I've been asked by fans of our brand and friends, when am I going to get back to doing stuff that's similar to what I was doing 5-6 years ago, And although we might have some throwback projects in the works, the purpose or the sentiment behind Farce was to show what we're capable of today in terms of blending and composition, things of that nature. So it's a very complex blended blend.
A blended brand.
Wow. My English is not working today.
But that's what I love about it, is the complexity of the cigar. It's just, it really just kind of keeps unfolding as you smoke it, and I love it.
No, true.
Yeah.
And that was the hope to achieve with that, and I think we did.
Tell me about this. Would you call it a micro blend, a micro batch that you've done with Stogies in Houston and with Chris Hart and the guys from the Houston Bourbon Society?
Yes. So our micro batch program is just that. It's they're things that are done in extremely small numbers. It's bespoke. It's the best way I could describe it. And they tried the blend that I made for Stogies for an event last year. And they were very much enamored with the blend and asked if we could do something similar for their event here. So I was honored to do so.
When you do blends like that, the micro batch, is this something that, are you using maybe something that you can only find in small quantities in terms of some of the tobacco that you source?
Yeah, a lot of them are made with, entrails or components from multiple productions that could never see the light of day in any other scale because we simply don't have the materials or any combination of limitation on production. So,
Matt Booth from Room 101. Matt, I think of you as part of the sort of the...
Do you think of me?
I do, and I think of you, probably far too much. Probably more than you'd be comfortable with knowing.
Right now?
That's because of the beard thing. Yeah. No, I think of you as part of what I would call like sort of the new guard of cigar blenders, and there's so many of the newer boutique brands that have done things like you've done. Do you think that the new guard, as I would call them, do you think this has been a really good thing for the cigar industry? Would you worry at all about our maybe moving to all these new styles and new blends and new ways of doing art and all of this that are not necessarily in the more traditional cigar making way?
Well, the reality is the craft is the same and the style is different, and a person like myself that was not generationally vested in the craft is going to have a tremendously different approach and direction to the way they compose a cigar versus a traditionalist. the cigars may be built the same way. I mean, you would hope that they're built as a true premium product. But the personality, your personality, if you're genuinely vested in what you're doing, it can't help but to sing through in the end result, right? So, and I think the true magic is when someone like myself and a traditionalist get together. For example, the factories we work with, they're guys that are very much so in the box of tradition, generation to generation in their family, and you both challenge each other in a very healthy and positive fashion. And the end result is unlike what either one of you could have ever accomplished on your own.
Well, the cigar, for example, that you did with AJ Fernandez, that is a wonderful collaboration. Just a completely different, in my mind, from what AJ would do on his own, or from what you've released so far for Room 101. I
agree completely, and that's a great example.
Yeah. We sure appreciate you taking a couple of minutes with us. Want to invite you to come back and be a guest on the show when we can sit down. You can talk to us about things in more depth. But I did want to ask you before we let you go: is there anything coming down the pike? Anything you can tell us about future projects that are okay to talk about?
We have various projects in various stages of development that we cannot.
And I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Is there anything you can tell us?
Just that there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff coming from Room 101 this year, and some in the very near future. So I definitely think that this is, with the relaunch and retooling of our business, so much has gone on in the last 2 years, but this is really, this is truly our year. So you'll see a good deal coming from us.
Yeah, it's all very exciting. Ian, anything else you wanted to ask?
I just wanted to say I appreciate the cigar being brought out as a stylistic commodity on top of everything else. I think that's pretty awesome.
I think it is awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Matt Booth from Room 101, thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes on Smoking and Toasting with us. We appreciate it. Please continue to do what you're doing, because you're making great stuff.
Thank you.
And shake Ian's hand.
Oh.
Don't want to leave a brother hanging. It's Smoking and Toasting live at the Houston Whiskey Social. All right. Well, thank you to Matt Booth. That a very interesting interview, and I think you got a kick out of sitting next to him, didn't you?
I think he had a lot of fun with that as well.
I think he did. That's very cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be trying Odell Brewing's The Tree Shaker. It's it's just called Tree Shaker, but I like to put the in front of it, as you know. The Tree Shaker Imperial Peach IPA plus pairing craft beer with Easter Peeps is going to happen. We'll tell you how to do it coming up next. It's Smoking and Toasting.